and welcome to episode 15 of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, and today I'm speaking with Philip Anthony Mangan. He is the Wellness Wingman. Philip helps overwhelmed women lose weight and regain control through daily personalized support. Philip is a model, commercial actor, and an environmental activist, as well as a certified personal trainer and fitness nutrition expert. He is the founder of a holistic health and wellness coaching business that focuses on providing people with clarity, control, and confidence they need to make everlasting change in their life. I love this conversation with Philip because we talk about how there's so many different niches in the wellness industry and how he chose to work with women. Anthony walks the walk, and before he started even taking on clients, he went through a huge wellness and health transformational journey that took him down the path of being able to take on these one-on-one clients and help his clients see real results. We talk about his past entrepreneurial journeys, what he's doing now, and we also talk about how when you niche down, you're not really limiting yourself. So Philip works with men and women, but his messaging and niche is helping women. So we talk about how he chose that and really how even though it is targeted down to women, he's not eliminating anyone that he really works with. And you'll hear more about that in the episode. I do the same thing. I tend to focus on my messaging towards women, but I have male clients too. So we talk about a lot of consistency as well as some tips on how to stay productive and healthy because, of course, he is a personal trainer and we had to talk about that. So this episode was so much fun to record. Go connect with him on social media. He's on a break from using social media at the moment, but he checks his messages every day, and you'll hear more about that in this episode about how he really has to take priority of his mental health, and sometimes that means taking breaks from doing outreach and really using social media. So let's get right into this episode with Philip. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I am very interested on how you decided that you were going to start working with women in the health industry. You know, as a male, how did you come to that realization that women were the ones that were going to listen to you, need your help? Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, I'd love to actually. I get that question a lot, and I love to speak about it because I think you're going to find like your loophole of which you want to get into to where it's going to benefit the most people. So my original, I wanted to help men because I feel like the men need the most help. But then I realized the only way I'm really going to get to the men is through the women, because a lot of my coaching involves being emotionally intelligent. And since we both know women are pretty much more emotionally intelligent than men, that kind of was my gauge of, hey, I don't think a lot of men out there are ready to hear what I have to say and how my approach is. So why not focus on the people who are actually have their ears open to me? I think you know as well as if people are not ready to hear that message, they're never going to be able to catch it. And I knew women would be able to catch it a little bit easier. So I decided to focus on them first in hopes that like, hey, maybe I can branch off into their husbands or their family friends eventually. But that's kind of the rundown of why I started it that way.
So I can tell that you walk the walk, you do what you teach your clients, and you really have worked on yourself before you started taking on clients. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear about your personal history with health and wellness and how you came to get your first few clients, like what that process looked like.
Yeah, no, I'd love to share that. And I appreciate your words. Health and wellness has been a big part of my life for many years on some sort of level. Throughout college, throughout growing up, I was into sports. So I always played, I was always active, running around with my friends outside. You know, this is pre iPad, phone stuff. And then when I got to college, it shifted from sports to more of like working out in the gym, learning how to strength train. So that's kind of where it started growing as far as elevating my fitness level. As far as nutrition went, started slowly focusing on when you're cooking your own food in college, you're starting to pay attention a bit, but it probably wasn't towards the end until the end of college that I was really kind of reading things and just getting a little bit more interested in how to better my diet. So the first part of my transformation really came from just the bodily. I wanted to look good, and I wanted to try to eat better, and my internal function better, fuel myself better. Over time, the way I've worked on myself all came basically from a lot of it came actually from a post breakup with someone, and I think I just got fed of my lifestyle at the time too. So because I could always say like I was into fitness and wellness in some sort of level, but a lot of the things I was doing were counteracting that. I was big into party scene. I ran a party bus company, so I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of late nights, a lot of just like stuff that you wouldn't think is considered wellness, and it wasn't. I think I look back at a lot of those moments and think, wow, I was numbing myself a lot. And when you're numbing yourself a lot, yeah, you can still eat the right things, you can still work out, but if you're not feeling the other stuff and learning to kind of grow internally in the mind, you're only going to hit like a certain point. So I think I got fed up of that lifestyle. I kind of outgrew it and started dating a girl, and she wasn't really into the party scene, so it kind of helped me get a bit more sober as far as not drinking as much. And for the first time in a long time, I saw like this ambition, these different feelings inside me, just looking at things a lot differently, and I loved it. And when, long story short, she broke up with me, just because I think we were just on different levels of growth in our lives, and I think she was pretty much ahead of me. But when she broke up with me, I decided to continue that journey by myself. So it was kind of like I can revert back to the old me, or I can keep going and do this for me. And I really kind of, rather than just going back to the drinking and the party scene, I really wanted to see where it was going to take me, the self growth. So I did a lot of healing by investing into myself and trying to figure out me, try to get my life together in some sort of way where I had a clear direction of where I was going. And through that, I mean, even to this day, I haven't really dated anyone serious since that relationship, and it's been over 6 years. And I always tell that to people. I'm like, I didn't start off with like, hey, I'm going to do 6 years. It was just like each year that passes, it's like I was learning more new and like about myself, and it was just like I'm happy with being with myself. I don't feel like I need someone to complete me. Now it's just really looking for someone to team up with, to better ourselves, be a super team kind of thing, and share experiences with. So a lot of my self growth came from being alone, and I think that is something that a lot of people don't do enough. I think that's why there's a lot of divorces out there. There's a lot of other issues with people have, is they're not taking the time to get to know themselves, and then they eventually hit a point in their lives where they're like, wow, we are two different people, and then they realize like they want to break from that person, and they try to get to know themselves. So I'm kind of taking that approach before I jump into something. And a lot of the work I've done, especially since moving to New York, it actually I was actually going to write something about it yesterday. It was 5 years ago when I first moved to New York, and that really changed my self growth around a lot, because when you move somewhere new and you don't know anyone, I was living in Florida all my life, running my own business for 7 years prior to coming to New York. You kind of get this comfort level of this is how life is, and then you go and put yourself outside that comfort zone. That's where all the growth comes from, and that's where I keep trying to challenge myself more and more. Even like last year when the pandemic hit, I ended up going to Hawaii for 5 months to live on a farm, to learn how to grow food. Everyone was scared of the virus, and I was like, I'm going to use this time to try to for my in some sort of way to do something that I'm connected to. And I was one of the best decisions I could have ever made. I learned, wasn't just growing food out there, it was growing myself, I always say. And a lot of the things I actually learned out there, I've seen that have helped me coach my clients, honestly, just about myself and setting boundaries with people and these different things. So it's crazy, but I think that's where a lot of my growth has come from, is just putting myself in discomfort of uh, and just facing, like, just being brave and just going out there and seeing what happens and just putting forth effort. And I've had a lot of failures over time. But I believe my mental wellness is better than it's ever been before. I even brought a therapist in that I talk to weekly. It's just nice outlet. I think that's something that everyone should do.
So it sounds like you've been an entrepreneur for a while. And as you were saying, there's a lot, like, you're not afraid to fail. You've had a lot of failures, you've had a lot of successes. And that's really what builds an entrepreneurial mindset, not being able to get stuck on one failure or even stuck on one success, really. And so, yeah, you said that you had a party bus company. I would love to hear about, how you became an entrepreneur, and obviously you're continuing to be one now. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, no, thank you. I didn't really plan into getting a party bus company ever. I mean, it wasn't kind of like, I want to graduate college and get into that. But I did graduate with 2 business degrees in college. I have a hospitality degree and a marketing degree. I'm the type of person that never knew, like, never had a clear vision of what he wanted to do, for life. So when I went to college, it was like, well, get business. Business is kind of, good to, use throughout life. And graduate college, still don't know what I want to do. Worked a couple random, like, jobs, like managed at Hollister. Worked for a private jet company for like a year. Then the economy got really bad once I graduated, and then I got laid off from that job, from the private jet company. But the funny thing was, a lot of my time during that private jet company I was using to try to find another job, because I just knew that wasn't like something I wanted to do with my life. And then when the economy got really bad, I was collecting unemployment. My best friend was doing the same thing. He couldn't find a job. And we had this kind of idea a couple years prior to, maybe we saw like how taking an older school bus and remodeling it could work in a college town, that like the one that we went to Florida State University. And it just happened, like, I believe when you're open and you're open to anything, and, you're kind of at like a rock bottom point, you're willing to try anything. And it was kind of like, I remember he approached me one day, he's like, oh, this person has a bus for sale. And I was like, I think I took the last like $1,000 I had of unemployment money that I saved, and I invested into that. And to be honest, the first year of it, we had no clue what we were doing, and we just mainly probably used it just for partying more, because no one,
just for yourself.
Well, no one really, I mean, you realize right away, unless you have like some sort of major plan, and no one's really going to trust you. You're not a reputable business. And we learned that, but we never stopped having fun. And I think over the time, we started seeing that it could be something, and slowly you're piecing in how it could work. And that's kind of what we did. And, eventually we took one bus and we grew it into a 6-bus business. And it was awesome. I mean, I didn't even tell, actually, to be honest, I didn't even tell my parents really about the business until like I was about a year and a half into it, where I was very established with it, to where I thought it could actually be something. And that was probably, it took about a year and a half. And then we really did a lot of growing in the middle point there, where we were just like, wow, we can get all these buses for cheap. Let's just get the buses and we'll figure it out. And we kind of just did that. And it ended up getting, bigger each year as far as like sales wise, but at the same time, the insurance rates get higher.
Absolutely.
And it was a specialty type of business. And that's what actually ended up me stepping away from it, because it just got to the point where if I was going to invest all my time and effort into something and not really be able to see much more than like an inch worth of growth, there was kind of like a point, like, what's the point? The other benefits aren't like as strong anymore. The other benefits would be like, oh, I get to party all the time and I get to go out those weren't like important to me anymore.
Yeah,
I
it sounds
wanted,
like all your values kind of shifted
yeah,
into
exactly.
more of what you do now, which is health,
Mhm.
nutrition, and inspiring others.
Yeah. And what, honestly, what's great is like with that business, one of the things that I always wanted to do was why I value the business so much and the way we are approaching it was showing people that they didn't have to take the same path out of
Mhm.
college. And that's what I wanted to inspire people. So it drove me to try to build the business because it was like, no, you can't do it this way. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to do it this way and show you. So it's great now to kind of have that same mentality going into this other business that I have, and obviously help people with health and wellness, because that's something that I believe is the foundation for creating a happy, healthy lifestyle. But that's really what it was about. It was like, I want to inspire people then, and I continue now to inspire. It just took me a while to figure out kind of how or what I wanted to do next after that business. I kind of was very picky with it. I just wanted to take some time away, ended up getting into the modeling industry, and that's why I'm back in New York now, is kind of my main thing. And as I've been building my health and wellness business. So I think that's an always important thing as well, is to know is you should have something that's supporting you, and then you can work on the other thing. And that's how I even got into the modeling industry. I still had my buses running when I moved to New York for like the first semester, and so it was able to pay my rent in New York. So I didn't have to just jump into a 9-to-5 job going to New York. And then it gave me the flexibility to say, oh, wow, this is an opportunity. I'm going to run with it. And I ended up running with it and got into the modeling industry. And by the time I got in and was able to start making a little bit of money, I sold the buses. And so it was kind of it's all about pivoting, as you probably know. And I was able to do that then. I was able to do it now. And then even like when the pandemic hit, I was like, I'm going to pivot. If the modeling industry never opens up again, I'm going to go learn how to be a farmer, because
Exactly.
we all need food to eat.
Yeah. And, a lot of new entrepreneurs listen to the show, and a lot of entrepreneurs who are aspiring entrepreneurs, right? And so that's such an important part where our values can change. They're allowed to change. We're allowed to pivot at any moment.
Exactly.
And it's scary to jump into something new. It's absolutely terrifying one day to be like, I hate this job that I'm in. All I do is type all day. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go inspire people, or in your case, I want to go help people with their health. And actually, like, what it sounds like to me is you want to inspire through people. And
Mm-hmm.
so inspire one person to inspire their families.
Oh
And
yeah.
it sounds like that's why you really want to work with women, because women in general, right, are a lot better with speaking and their words and like helping others. Now, that's not always the case, right? But when you have a family, you usually want to help the family.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I think that's awesome that that's like the way that you saw it and the way that you're going towards it now. And
Thank you.
so, yeah, if you want to talk about maybe how you got some of your first clients, for anyone who's listening that maybe wants to be
Mm-hmm.
in the health and wellness industry, but is absolutely confused, what advice do you have to them?
So I'm all about like, branding myself in a way that's authentic to me. And I don't like to look at what other people are doing, because I feel like that throws me off my game. And I think when you can get really, really in touch with who you are, that becomes a very big asset in getting clients. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of where I've been able to kind of harness, is the more I've learned about myself, the more I speak about myself and the things that I've experienced. I think that has helped me a lot in getting new clients, because I mean, obviously another big thing that helps me personally that I'm good at is I know I like to write, and I know I'm good at writing. It's always been one of my strong suits. So I've been able to put how I feel and what I've experienced into words very easily. And that has helped me. For people that don't know how to write, it's fine. It's just about really getting comfortable maybe in front of the camera, but people will always remember how you make them feel.
Mhm.
They might not remember like what you said often, but if you can make them feel good, then they're going to probably want to keep coming back to see you, and eventually something maybe will click in their head. So I do a lot of social media stuff, I've kind of taken a step back at different times when I need to kind of like regroup. But a lot of my growth from getting clients, or just even business, even getting, like, I could say, modeling jobs sometimes, comes from me being consistent with my social media posts. Even like I've done influencing stuff, like I'm big into sustainable living and the environment. So I've done a lot of posts on that stuff. And I think when you post and people see, like, and it's that energy you have and all these different things, that's what's attracting others. So that's really what the tool I've used. One of the actually biggest tools that I've used to probably connect with people on a more intimate basis that are maybe looking for health and wellness coaches are going into Facebook groups. And I think that's a great tool to use because you can find groups that are, about this or about that, rather than having to just post and then maybe not know if it reached people or not. So I've been fortunate to get a couple. I did a Tony Robbins thing at the beginning of the year, like, and the group had like probably like a couple 100,000 people in it, and you're supposed to post videos. I think he gives you like a homework each day for like, and it was like, this is like a free thing that he ended up doing. And I think we did 3 days of videos of like, this is a homework, but you go on live and you record a live video. And a lot of my videos did really well because I know how to connect to the people better, I think. So I think that's really important in getting, making yourself more niche. Is the more you get to know you, the more kind of people will see your authenticity. So that's probably one of the best suggestions I can give, is really kind of utilizing social media in the best of its ability. But it's all trial and error. I'm still trial and error. And I mean, I've done direct mailers recently. I haven't really get anything yield from that, but you don't know until you do it. And a lot of times it's a loss. But also, one thing that I've come to know in the health and wellness business, it's a long game. Not like, I think about this, like, not many people make a quick decision when it comes to making a major change to their life. Most people dwell on this for a long time because it's uncomfortable. They keep going back and forth unless something really pushes them, where maybe, like, they had some like health issue or this and that. You're most likely going to see a lot of people waiting and debating, and you just kind of have to not let that kind of affect you and from doing, continue to post, continue to share. And I've had moments where I was just like, man, it's hard to see things in the works, but you just have to kind of keep faith and keep trying to just align with yourself in different ways. And I do truly believe clients will come the more consistent you are. It just like the weight will come off the more consistent you are with the eating right and the weight loss. Anything that you want in life really just comes with building a consistent habit.
Oh, absolutely. Because you never know on social media who's watching that hasn't reached out yet.
Exactly. And I'll touch on this. I had a client that I just onboarded like probably about 3 weeks ago. She was like, I've wanted to reach out to you so many times. And she was actually in that Tony Robbins group. And we did this in January. So think about that. That took her almost 10 months to finally have the courage to connect with me and get things moving. So you never know. Thing is, it's all right. It's we're all dealing with it. Like, I don't know many times, but you can't let that kind of affect if you know your mission. And I think that's why another important thing is you always have to keep coming back to reconnecting with why you're doing it, because if you can do that, then it will help you keep staying consistent, and that will attract more clients. But if you forget and you lose sight of it, you might be like, oh, this might be easier to do over here because I can get this instant gratification.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with podcast hosts and businesses with podcasts, and what I've learned is sometimes they don't even know that they need help yet. And I can say the same thing day in, day out, over and over and over again. And then I'll just change like one or two words and they will be like, I didn't even know I needed your help. Like, this is what I need. Been saying this for the past year, but
Hey,
it's just funny how just like changing your messaging even just a little bit, once you learn your audience more and more, it can be the difference between them not knowing they need you to them being all in. Like, that's the answer I'm looking for. That's the result I want. Like they have this result for me.
No, I love that. I'm glad you share that, and that's awesome that you're able to kind of see it just from the changing of the words. I've actually been trying to get myself to do the same because I think a lot of times when, a lot of coaches, even like myself, and maybe you've dealt with this, is I've obviously done a lot of self-growth. So I might be at this higher level of, and you're not going to be able to understand the message if you're down here. Right. So I have to realize I need to simplify the message to reach people down there, because I could be posting about like things that I've learned after X amount of years. And that might not be connecting to someone that just might need, hey, I need to help with waking up in the morning.
I want to shift over to maybe you giving us some tips on what we can do to stay more productive. A lot of us are working from home. A lot of us, maybe this is our first year in entrepreneurship. And I know when I first started, especially being from Seattle, I was not expecting the rain as much. I know that sounds stupid, but I grew up in Las Vegas. My first winter here was my first year as an entrepreneur too. And so just the rain, not being able to go outside, the cold, I was absolutely losing my mind. And I had to figure out ways to stay active and productive and keeping my mind healthy. And it took time. I'm not going to lie, it took time. And so what are some actionable tips you may have for us to, power through those down moments in business?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many, there's more downs I've realized than ups a lot of times. And trust me, I like even like this past summer, I had to really take a step back. And it's easy when things aren't moving in the direction you want. And it's easy to start looking in other areas of like what might be working for someone else. But that, I think, is only making you further down. Because if you start getting off your grind and you go into someone else, you're losing yourself more. I think social media does that a lot to us, is we can look at that stuff all day and hear a lot of information. So I took a break from social media, to be honest. Even though it's a tool that for me and my business, if I'm not using the tool right, and it's actually the tool is beating me up, then why even, have the tool? So I took a 35-day break. I still use it on some sort of level, but I don't have the apps on my phone. If I want to post something, I will download the app, post, get off. So I think it's really important to not use those, because I think that's only going to bring you down. I think it's important to kind of just take a step back and do things that bring you joy each day. And maybe it might be like working out, but you say, hey, it's raining outside. There's probably a lot of other things that you like to do that aren't involved working out that you can do at your home that will create more joy. But I think it's important to harness the start of the day to the best of your ability. I've recently shifted I'm training for a triathlon right now. I recently shifted from just like doing like morning yoga to waking up and doing my hardest thing of the day. That's either running. I'm not a big runner. I got to go challenge myself, but I see doing something really hard that is in control, that I'm in control of. So I could do something like really hard of like, I got to create this post, but I might not get any result back. If I do something really hard that is in my control, like, okay, I'm going to run 3 miles today, that is automatically boosting my mental well-being. And I think that's important. We need to really try to harness like what kind of challenges that we can do to make us feel like we won, because there's not a lot of wins. We don't see a lot of wins as entrepreneurs, especially in the starting points. So how can we make ourselves feel like we won something every day? It could be as simple as that. You don't have to be a 3-mile runner. You could do something, but do something that's tough. Do something that's tough that is in your control, that's going to maybe, I think the physical activity is one of the greatest things, especially if we have the ability to move our bodies, let's use it. I think that will be able to help boost you through these times. And then you'll see it start carrying over into the rest of your day. I'm honestly, when I do something like that in the morning, I feel like Superman, like, oh, I just accomplished, and I didn't, no money came into my pocket. No, none of this other stuff happened, but it just literally made me see, like, even if a slight of beating the time that I beat before, like that I did before, it really does something up in this brain activity here to really keep you on track and throughout, like, whatever, you're working on that day.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
So I want to get into how people can find you. Let's start with that. How can people find you?
Okay. So I still have social media. So, I mean, people can find me on there, and I do a lot of my posts and teachings on my Instagram page. So Philip Anthony Mangan is my Instagram. I've been doing a lot of videos, even like what we talk about, like as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of failures. So lately I've been doing this thing called Failure Friday, and I'm posting a lot of auditions that I failed at, whether I'm just dancing around like an idiot or something like that, but I never got the job. And what did I learn from it? And I think a lot of those things is we need to look at our failures as important parts of our journey, because that's how we keep growing. So I've been focusing on a lot of that stuff lately on my social media, especially my Instagram. So you can follow me on there. Website is philipmangan.com. I offer a free 30-minute coaching call, to see if we're a good fit. And I also have a bunch of information on there. Ebooks. I have like 4 different ebooks: how to create a healthy morning routine, how to kickstart a vegan diet, also
Awesome.
money saving tips. Obviously, any entrepreneur would love. And it's not just like, hey, don't use a credit card. It's like things that how I've lived the past like X amount of years of my life. And a lot of it actually is just eating better, and all it affects your health. So it's like not only affecting like more money in your pocket, you have better health, and it's better for the planet.
Perfect. So those will all be linked below. And for anyone listening to this episode and they're thinking that, they want to work with you, tell us a little bit about who you work with.
Okay. I mean, even though like my main target market is women, I coach men too. I mean, so if there's a guy out there that like was like, wow, I want to, work with him, that is right up my alley. And I honestly work with people that want to change. I don't work with everyone. I mean, I give people questionnaires when I start, and if I don't think you're committed enough, and I think you're trying to do it probably for the wrong reasons that aren't going to keep you committed, then I probably won't work with you, because what's the point? I say, I'm not going to try to take someone's money just not give them any results, because I think a lot of people want a coach, and it thinks like, hey, they're going to do the work for me. But in reality, it's just, I'm kind of the guide, and the person has to do the work. So anyone that's willing to do the work, I want to work with you.
Yeah. And I think that when we decide that it's time to niche down, that is a big misconception, where you can still work with men and women, and you can still target talking to only women or talking to only men or whoever you want to talk to, right? But people will still reach out. I mainly work with women, and I have male clients. Most of my targeting on Instagram is women. Men still reach out to me. So it's not like you're completely cutting people off. It's just you're really reaching who you want to reach, and through that, the right people will come.
I completely agree. I think it's important to note that, because a lot of times at first I was thinking like, oh, I don't want to put women in my thing and just kind of close myself off. But at the end of the day, it's just really like what you explained. It's saying, hey, I'm trying to tap the women, like, hey, this is for you if you see a word woman. But I really don't make any of my posts saying this is towards women. It's not like it could be broadened to men and women. It's just, I just chose to use that type of wording. Like you said earlier, it's all in the words.
I have enjoyed this conversation with you so much. And I would love it if you left us with 3 actionable steps that the audience can take to follow where you are now, from one entrepreneurial journey to this next that has brought you so much more joy and happiness in the health and wellness industry. What are 3 tips that you can leave people with?
First off, if you're in your 9 to 5 now, keep the 9 to 5. Number 1 tip, and focus on whatever time you have outside that 9 to 5. And I'm not saying at the beginning you need to kill yourself, because I think that's one misconception is we don't need to have that mentality of sleep when we're dead, because sleep is one of the biggest foundations for your overall mental well-being and your wellness. I actually feel like I'm dead when I don't sleep. So I think don't think that you have to hustle nonstop. A lot of it actually comes with ease and being rested and thinking clearly. So keep the job, maybe try to carve out some time, even if it's just the weekends, any time that you can do. But when you have that goal in mind, I think you need to hold that to highest in front of you, because it might be easy to go, hey, I just worked my 9 to 5. I'm going to put on some Netflix for the next 4 hours, and then you forget. But I would have a time frame on it as well, of like what you want to, like when you want to kind of make your transition by, because if you don't have something that's kind of nagging at you a little bit, you're going to be able to probably take a little bit more lax. And then next, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to do this later, and I'm going to do this in another year. I'm going to do this next, time passes by and you're still where you are, because there's a lot of things that I understand, like the 9 to 5 job. It's, oh, I love the comfort of my, $100,000 a year or whatever, this and that, but I'm not happy with all the work I'm doing here, So try to make it a point of, even if there's small little goals of this is where you want to be, maybe X amount of income, or even like, I want my website to be launched by this point, or I want to create X amount of posts for this. I think it's really important to set those little goals in the transition. Also, I think it's important to really identify what your strong suit is. When I got my personal training certification, it wasn't like, hey, I want to go be a fitness instructor. That never appealed to me. I never wanted to teach people in the gym, show them how to do exercises. I have all the respect in the world for personal trainers. That was the toughest test I've ever taken in my life, to be honest. So I have this massive respect for them, but that's not what I wanted to do. I want to teach people habits, how to keep coming back and wanting to do the exercises. I want to teach people about nutrition, because nutrition is what I'm passionate about, is like how to better your diet. So I think it's important to kind of really understand what you're passionate about and niche down, keep going in, like ask yourself these questions. Why, like, what am I good at? And it doesn't have to be, I'd say the 3rd tip is also like, stop trying to do it all. Do one thing really, really, really well. I've tried to do it all so much, like all the time, like, cause I'm like, oh, I'll go farm. I'll go do it. And then like 6 months, I'll be like, oh, I'm a pretty good farmer, I'm out. But it's like, and I'm not saying that didn't help me, but if you just keep doubling down on what you're good at, and just doubling down and doubling down and doubling down, you become this master at it. And then the more you become a master at it, then the more you're able to help people and really kind of speak to people in that way. So really find out what the one thing you're really good at. And the best thing to do is do what you're good at, naturally good at, right? You don't have to go create, like learn how to, do something crazy out there that that doesn't feel natural. Do what feels natural to you, and then try to build that around it. Because if you do the thing that you love and enjoy, so like say like running's your thing, build like some sort of running coaching business of how, like how do you keep going running, like all that stuff. I think that's an important thing to really focus on, is keep diving in and saying, hey, if this is what I enjoy the most in the fitness industry, this is what I enjoy most, focus on that side. I enjoy most, why I'm called the Wellness Wingman, I enjoy the most is like being that support system for people, honestly. So that's why I named myself the Wellness Wingman. It's like, because I want that support myself, like in anything I do. So whenever I've hired a business coach or anything like that, I'm hiring them because I don't want to be alone in it. I get more confidence when I have a little bit of a guide, so those are the three, however many I combined into one big thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've absolutely loved this conversation. There was so much value. So thank you for sharing it.
No, thanks for having me. I loved it as well.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.